You know that pause, the half second before you post something where your thumb just stops. Maybe it's a photo from dinner, maybe it's something good that happened today. And for a second, you're not thinking about the moment anymore. You're thinking about how it'll look. Now picture someone who never gets past that pause. Not once. Not by accident. They just don't post. Ever. Maybe you know someone like that. A friend, a sibling, someone from work with an account that just sits there, empty. And if you've ever asked them why, you probably got something short back. Not really my thing. You nodded, but part of you kept wondering what was actually going on underneath that. By the end of this, you're going to know. Not a guess, the actual psychology behind it, and it might change the way you think about your own thumb hovering over that button. If you like sitting with questions like this, why people do the things they do, quietly, without even noticing, subscribe. There's more of this kind of thing coming. Here's the strange part, though. Two people can live the exact same good moment. One posts it, one doesn't, and it's easy to assume the quiet one is just sheer, or more private, maybe even a little sad underneath it. But that's usually wrong, and the real reason. We'll come back to it in a minute, because it's not what you'd expect. First, let's be honest about what posting actually does. It's not really about the photo. It's about what happens to the moment once it leaves your hands. The second something goes online, it stops being only yours. It becomes a small argument for how you want to be seen. This is who I am. This is what my life looks like. Please agree with me. Most people don't think about it that clearly. It's just automatic. Something good happens, you reach for the phone. It's basically reflex at this point. So the real question was never why some people don't post. It's what would make someone able to resist something that's become almost automatic for everyone else. There isn't just one kind of person who doesn't post. There are at least three, and they feel completely different from the inside, even though they look identical from the outside. The first is someone with a strong sense of privacy. For them, posting doesn't feel like sharing. It feels like handing something over, not because they're ashamed of it, because it's theirs. They already know what the trip meant to them. They don't need 300 people confirming it before it counts. The second is quieter and heavier. This one is fear, not fear of the photo. Fear of what happens after. What if nobody responds? What if it just sits there? That small public silence is a real cost for some people. One their body reacts to before their brain even explains why. So they scroll, they watch, but they never post. Being seen means being judged, and for them, that's a price their nervous system just isn't willing to pay. And the third one took me the longest to actually understand. These are people who aren't avoiding anything. They've just found what they need somewhere else. Real conversations, work that means something to them, a sense of who they are that doesn't wobble depending on who liked what. They're not absent because something's missing. They're absent because nothing is. Here's the honest part, though. And this is the part most videos on this topic skip. Even for the person who's genuinely fine not posting, it's not always frictionless. There can still be a small sting in being the only one who didn't share something, a quick passing thought. Would this have felt more real if someone else had seen it too? That doesn't undo anything we just talked about. It just means healthy isn't the same as feeling nothing at all. The quiet ones aren't immune to any of this. They've just decided the cost of performing outweighs the relief of being seen. That's a trade, not a superpower. Remember that open loop from earlier. Two people, same moment, only one of them posting. Here's what's actually different between them. Getting a response online, a like, a comment, even just a view. It gives your brain a small hit of the same chemical involved in most things you find rewarding. Over time, your brain starts expecting that hit. You don't even notice you're chasing it anymore. You just notice the pull to check back. People who don't post have in some way stepped outside that loop, not always through willpower. Sometimes it just never fully hooked them. Sometimes they walked far enough away from it that the pull faded on its own. And what's interesting is what happens in the space that loop leaves behind. Research on heavy social media use keeps finding the same pattern. That more scrolling and more comparing is linked to more loneliness, not less. Not posting doesn't guarantee peace on its own, but it does remove one of the biggest sources of comparison. Most people carry through their day without even realizing it. There's a specific moment that shows you this whole idea. All at once, you're somewhere good, a concert, a dinner, a view you didn't expect to be this beautiful, and right in the middle of enjoying it, some part of your brain quietly says, wait, get this. For 1 second, you're not in the moment anymore. You're outside it, framing it, already thinking about who will see it later. Then you put the phone down, and you try to find your way back into the thing you were just feeling. People who don't post have mostly opted out of that interruption. Not because the moment matters less to them, because they've decided it matters more than the proof of it ever could. That's the whole thing, really. It was never about being shy, or secretive, or having something to hide. It's someone deciding, somewhere along the way, that the moment was already enough on its own. It didn't need to travel anywhere else. To become real, there's something about doing nothing in a system built entirely around participation that starts to feel loaded, even when nobody meant it that way. In a world where documenting things is basically expected, staying quiet reads as a statement, whether the person intended it as one or not, but most people who don't post aren't making a point. They're not thinking about the rest of us scrolling and posting around them. They're just living, without narrating it as they go. If there's any rebellion in it, it's mostly a side effect, not the goal. And maybe that's the part worth sitting with. Not everyone who stays quiet online is trying to prove something. Not to themselves. Not to anyone else. Sometimes it really is just someone who decided, without ever announcing it, that they'd rather feel a moment than explain it. So if you've been trying to figure out someone in your life who never posts, it's usually one of a few things. Privacy that runs deeper than most people's, a fear of being judged that feels bigger up close than it looks from outside. Or a kind of quiet confidence that just doesn't need an audience to feel complete. And sometimes, if we're honest, it's a mix of all three. Shifting, depending on the day, if any part of this felt like it was describing you or someone you know, that's not something to fix. It's just something worth understanding a little better. There's a stranger version of this, though, the people who post constantly, who seem to need everyone watching all the time. And it turns out that's not really about confidence either. It might actually come from the exact opposite place. That's next.